Joining us now on the set here at Pioneer Park in Mesa, Arizona, is Butch Pau'u.
What's up, Butch?
Who is now a senior linebacker. Is that weird, man?
Yeah, 2015 is when I got home from the mission. We started the season with Bronco, and now we're here with Coach Itake as a senior. It's kind of weird.
This isn't your first Fan Fest. You've been to several of these. How does this one compare to the other ones you've been to?
This one reminds me of California of last year.
Corona?
Yes.
We were there with you.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
We had another interview out there, and it was just, you see this amount of fans out in California, you see the same amount here in Arizona. I mean, 2016, when we played Arizona, we had more fans than they did, so I was kind of expecting the same thing when it came to the Fan Fest.
It's a good sign for September 1st,
yes,
right? When
it
you
is.
play the Wildcats.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah, does it bother you to know that you're opening the season on the road, but when you're in Arizona, does it feel like you're opening it on the road?
No, not at all. We know that our fans are right there. We have probably 10,000 more fans than they do, and so we'll be hearing a lot of screaming on our end, not on theirs.
Good screaming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Not all screaming's great, but this is good screaming. You were in Harlem last week.
Yeah.
Hanging out. Tell us about that experience, you domestic traveler.
It was a really humbling experience. You live in Provo for 4 years, and so you go to a place like Harlem and you go to a place like Brooklyn, and you see that kids are traveling 45 minutes to an hour just to get to school, and they have to take the subway by themselves most of the time because their parents are working. And so we were able to talk to them and tell them that you guys can have a life for yourselves. The only thing that you have to do is make sure that you set a goal for a dream that you may have, and then go and do anything that you can to achieve that dream, because dreams do come true.
What does an experience like that do for you to shape you as a player, especially when you're leading into your senior year?
Yeah, no, it definitely reminds you of getting back to the basics, because I remember I kind of had a tough childhood growing up as well. And so I talked with my parents as soon as I got home and said thank you. Like, I totally forgot that kind of area is where I came from, and it's because of all the effort that you guys put in that I'm now here with my brother at BYU. And so we have that wonderful opportunity. So now I'm excited, even more motivated to get to work and to be able to play and hopefully play well for the team.
How is Neil? He scored the first touchdown of the season last year,
yeah.
and we didn't hear from him as much during the season, but still a capable wide receiver.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's doing really well. During spring ball, the quarterbacks were looking at him a lot, so that's good to see. It's good to see that he's not dropping any balls, and if he does, he's got 60,000 cousins on the team and then outside of school that are always going to get on his case. So he's making sure that he's just stays in shape, gets faster, and make sure that he can catch every ball thrown to him.
Did you ever light him up in practice? Because you're on defense, he's on offense.
I did, and I got taken out right away. I had fun with it, though. Yeah, I had fun with it.
It was worth it. It was calculated.
Yeah, it was worth it.
The overwhelming optimism for BYU athletics is apparent here just from this turnout. Everybody is hoping for BYU to return to what it once was, and I know it was only what they hope a year hiatus. Why do you feel like this season is going to be so different than last?
I think just the mentality that you see from both sides of the ball this year is something different. You see that we actually saw it so a couple days ago they made us do 600 up downs, and that was a punishment because we weren't taking care of our stuff in the locker room and in the classroom. And so 600 up downs is kind of a lot of up downs.
In a single practice?
It was training. It was instead of lifting, we did up downs and we did plate pushes, and that was a punishment. But
600.
600. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was needed. It was needed for us. We got to make sure that we stay on top of not only football but just everything outside of football as well. But what you saw was you saw two different mentalities. You saw the mentality of the defense that when it kind of got hard, you saw the guys come together, and when you saw the offense kind of struggle a bit, you saw them rely on each other. But what they, instead of having everyone kind of turn to each other, they held each other accountable, and so everyone was just making sure, okay, I can't let my boys down. And so that's something that you see this year that's kind of maybe different from last year. And so that all comes from at the end of the season, Coach Kalani coming up and saying we had a bad year, and I apologize, and we're going to make some adjustments. And so some of those adjustments came to coaches, and the mentality of those coaches are transferring over to the players, and those players are just flying with it right now.
Fred Warner was drafted in the 3rd round by the 49ers.
Yep.
What did you think of your boy Fred?
We were excited. We were watching the NFL draft, and we were of course watching his Snapchat too, just to see how he would react at home. So we're excited to see him. I'm positive, pretty positive that Fred will get that starting spot, and will have a big role for the Niners, just because they're in my opinion, there was no other linebacker in the NFL that was as mobile, as agile, as smart of a player as Fred Warner.
In the draft, okay, so you feel like he stands alone.
Yes, sir.
You feel like he's good enough right now to start for an NFL franchise.
That's my belief.
Wow. Butch Pau'u with us on BYU Sports Nation. We're at the Arizona Fan Fest. I want to go back to the schedule, and we talked about opening the season at Arizona.
Yep.
Then things continue to get more difficult for BYU. You've got games against Wisconsin and the likes of Washington also in that rundown. What is it like to try and traverse through that tough schedule? Because this is not new to you. You've done this. What's the toughest part about playing an early season tough schedule?
Is to see how we react to everything. I mean, the first season in 2016 when we had Arizona and then we had Utah and then we had West Virginia. I mean, we went 1-3, and the way that we reacted to it afterwards is what Coach Kalani wanted. And so this year what we're hoping for is to be able to have a strong mentality going through that first game and then going through those first couple games, because we have, like you said, it opens up with Arizona, and then you have Wisconsin the third game, and then Washington is fourth or fifth. And so what we have to do is make sure that we stay on top of our game through those games so that we're not 1-3 and then trying to fight for a bowl game at the end of the year. We want to go undefeated through those first couple of games. We know they're going to be tough, but we feel like we can do it.
Give us an idea of how the other linebacking spots are shaping up besides yours.
So we have converted linebacker now who was a safety last year, Zane Anderson. Him and Morgan Unga are taking Fred's spot. They'll be battling it out in the fall, but those guys both move very fluidly. Both are really fast. At the bow position, we have Sione Takitaki, Isaiah Kafusi, and Adam Pulsifer, who are the guys right now.
And who's with you?
And then with me, it was myself, Kuje Tapusoa, and Jeremiah Yermia, and then Christian Folau.
And Christian had a great spring.
Christian had a great spring. And so what the coaches were trying to focus on in spring was making sure that the younger guys understood their roles, understood their jobs, understood their assignments. And that's because, I mean, anything happens. I've missed 2 or 3 games the past 2 years because of injury. And so whenever these guys are needed and are called upon, they have to be ready. So I'm sure that they'll be ready this season.
There's a lot of conversation about, the offense needs to be better, and obviously it does. Is the defense much different this year from last year?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
we
so?
are. In the regards that everyone knows everyone's assignment. And I think that kind of helps. I mean, we know where the safeties are going to be at. We know what kind of calls they're going to make. We know what adjustments the defensive line are going to make on the fly. And that allows us as linebackers to kind of take advantage of, if the safeties are going to play here, I don't need to move as far over to the right or to the left. I can just drop straight back and kind of help cover what's in front of me, just so that defensive line can take care of their job, and then I can also help out with the safeties. And so having an understanding of the whole defense as a whole is helping our defense.
Growing pains are never fun,
No.
but they can be beneficial. And the more and more I talk to you and your teammates, it kind of feels like last year served as that unwanted yet perhaps necessary growing situation.
Yeah, the coaches continue to bring that up, and so do the defensive guys. We feel like because of 4-9, a lot of that rested on our shoulders too. I mean, Wisconsin scored 40-plus points, and we feel like we can hold teams to maybe under 20. I mean, we held Utah to under 20, and that was good for us, but not good enough because we still lost. And so we still have a ways to go, but we'll get there.
Who's the most popular autograph over there?
Mo Longy, for sure.
Mo Longy.
Because this is home for him.
Elder Longy?
Elder Longy.
He's Elder.
And then Corbin. Corbin
Kafusi.
Corbin is always a fan favorite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to point out that a few years ago, Butch was the guy off the radar, but then everybody was talking about him after the season.
That's right.
Who's that guy this year, Butch?
That's a good question. I don't know. You guys will have to find out, just like us.
All right, we're excited. We're excited to find out. Butch, thanks for taking the time with us, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Butch.
Good luck in the heat with the rest of the autographs.
Oh, thank you.
And competing with Mo for that.
Yeah, exactly.